Let's do some late Egyptian. All right, so we've gotten decently far in this. We're still doing relative clauses. I made a lot of them because I wanted you all to have extra practice. We don't actually have to do all of them. If people start getting bored, just tell me so. If you don't want to actually go through every single exercise. But let's do as many as we can today. We'll maybe try to move through it a little quickly, just so we can get, make some progress with this. You already have a chapter 8 to read and some exercises for chapter 8. I think I've edited them a little bit, but I think they're pretty much done. And then I started working on chapter 9. So we've got plenty of stuff to do. Dante, I see you right at the top of my screen.
So look, there's the nete that it was just in the sentence in the hieratic. Right, it was our nete.
Yeah.
But was it functioning differently there? Or, I mean, I guess
it's
not relevant for this class, but.
Well, so the part that is relevant is that if you do a bunch of these to the point where this becomes second nature, that enti thing won't be confusing at all because it just feels right. It's like IE or something. It just feels correct because of the way enti works and the way it's kind of more flexible. So this is a great example of that. You want to do the transcription?
Yeah. So pa neti herdap na per. And I guess the Coptic would be pet hichen en pe. And per, sorry. No, pe but that's like a fake Coptic word or something, right?
So yeah, so pe, I'll tell you where pe comes from. I'm going to reconstruct this like this because I have reason to, and I'll explain my reasoning. So there's a word in Egyptian that looks, oops, not that, looks like this, or maybe without this first stroke. And this is Coptic erpe, and it means like shrine, basically. And so we can divide it, and it's literally like mouth of the house, as in like the house of a deity. So it's like it's some kind of shrine. In text, it's definitely a shrine where people make offerings, but I think it's not the Holy of Holies. I think it's not. I think it's before that. So it's like the entrance to the house of the deity. And then this survives in Coptic as the word erpe, so we get pe from that, and like that one's really good. It's a really, really solid etymology. It's as close as you could possibly get without having that word actually survive into Coptic. You basically have exactly the same word. For that plural that I just made up, so there's a late Egyptian word that's like, oops, jaja, jaja en per, that means roof.
Jenepor.
Jenepor, yeah. But we've had conversations about this in the past.
Yeah.
Something's going really screwy with my fonts. Why is it doing that? Okay, we got a bug here. Impaired. I broke something when I changed keyboards. There we go. Okay, so this survives into Coptic as Jenepor, but this por makes no sense. There's no way to preserve that final R. So what I think, I don't know this for sure, but what I think is that the Coptic is actually derived from the plural form, which then makes perfect sense, because if you have pe, if we assume for the sake of argument that this is the singular and plural of the same word,
okay,
we actually get a really easy derivation where everything clicks together. So if you were to reconstruct this, Dante, do you want to try to reconstruct the late Egyptian?
No.
No, okay. You can give me the consonants. Then I'll give you the vowel, probably par. And then loss of syllable final R, reduction, this typical reduction of A to E in unstressed syllables. That's pretty generally true. A lot of things become E, but it's the A type vowel is the thing that most often becomes E. So like, that's all pretty good. Maybe a glottal stop here, but whatever. So par, and then pa, and then pe. That works. Okay. Now we assume, for the sake of argument, that the plural of this has to be something like paru, very early on. And then you run this forward, and you get the U preserves the R. So it keeps it from being dropped, but the U itself is eventually lost because these little short dangling vowels at the ends of words are lost on the way to Coptic. But here we have an A-type vowel in open syllable, which gives us an O, long O sound, which gives us por. So if you take for granted that this is probably the plural, because otherwise there's no way to explain it, but making it the plural is not that big a stretch. Head of house or head of houses as an idiom meaning roof, kind of both equally makes sense, especially when you consider the fact that in Egyptian towns, most houses were townhouses, so they were adjacent to one another. They probably had common roofs. Not that weird at all to say, hey, it's probably the plural, and then all of the phonology clicks together. So that's where I'm getting this por from as an irregular plural that doesn't actually survive in a Coptic.
So,
Okay.
So pe is the singular and por is the plural for equivalent of per in Coptic.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Neither of those words actually survive fully intact, but
they're like good conjectures, you're saying, right?
Yeah, they're really, it's a really decent reconstruction. It's a good reconstruction. It's less hypothetical than many others I've told you before. I would say it's pretty solid as reconstructions go. And then we actually want to do, let's do proper Coptic. So this is something that we talked about in the Discord. I need to find a way of marking these so that it tells.
You
I
need
tell
to
you
market it too.
Yeah,
Totally
do.
market it.
Market my Hero Coptic language that I made up. I'm going to do something like this. Oh wait, I'm going to come up with some way to mark it. I just put a giant hieroglyphic star there for now. I'm probably not going to do that every time because that took a long time. Okay, so how would you say this in normal Coptic?
Petichen tihi.
So it's not singular, the word for houses.
Oh, NPA, I don't know. What's the plural
A.
for house?
Well, the word A is actually already a plural. It's the word rooms,
Oh, okay.
Like as in quarters. So the plural is identical. It's just
Okay.
an A instead of pay. So yeah, Petichen A. That's good Coptic. Looks good to me anyway. And then translation.
The thing that is like over the houses or
Not quite over.
on
Over
the
is,
houses?
yeah, I'm gonna say upon,
Upon,
just to make it
okay.
abundantly clear. Or wait, we've been saying, sorry, we've been saying on top of, which is a literal translation.
Oh,
The
okay.
thing that is on top of the houses. Okay, good. Any questions about that before I move on? For future reference, if you do have questions, please just unmute yourself and interrupt me. Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, 3 more.
Ta ichet neti ben set di Yuna. And tehe et ns tai an.
Okay, really good. Actually, almost just regular Coptic here. Have I been separating the articles and the nouns this whole time? No, I haven't. I'm putting spaces between them in the transcription, but not in the Coptic. Oh my gosh, I just realized that.
If you
Oh.
just leave the ense, or however you would even, how would you even pronounce that? Mess?
Nt. I would say nt.
Ents? If you just leave that out, then it's sort of normal Coptic, right?
Yeah. At Dion.
So the cow that is not here.
Yeah. Serious cow.
And we get ta depet. Net. Is it neti or nt, or you could do either, or what's the story with that?
Yeah, this is the trouble with Egyptological pronunciation. There's not
it's
really a
sort of
right and wrong.
arbitrary to begin with, right?
It's arbitrary, but then there's like a sort of convention that everybody
Yeah.
uses. This one, the
So-
convention is neti, even though properly based on like phonology, it should be nt. And it probably
Okay.
is, it probably literally is nt, but we say neti. So ta defet neti.
Her pa itru.
Okay.
Well, does et come from neti, or is
Does.
it a different?
It comes from neti directly. And that one is really straightforward. So we have consonants, N, T, and then like probably literally E. Based on all the evidence we have, I would guess that this is literally E. So I'm not even going to do like a phonetic semi-vowel here. I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's E. So now we have to get this to et somehow. The final vowel gets lost, just like in the previous example with paru that I made up. So this final E gets lost. So we get something like unt, and we need a vowel in here somewhere. We can put it here, put it here. I'm guessing that the vowel is probably something like unt, or just unt even. Like it could be a syllabic N, doesn't really matter. And then that N is just assimilated to the T. Not that unusual. It's not even assimilated to the T in every case. So in the Coptic relative preterite, it's actually ent still. Like ent, I, that pentai off, that which I did it. It actually survives as ent. So depending on what sort of construction it's in Coptic, it's either et or ent. And it seems to be just a case where, because these things were used in different constructions, they were in slightly different phonological environments. One preserved the N and one lost the N. I'm guessing the reason is because this one is almost always preceded by some sort of vowel, where this one very often isn't. So you need to throw a vowel in there. Once you throw a vowel in there, you don't need the N anymore to distinguish it from some other word. So then the N gets lost, or it gets assimilated to the T, however you want to do it. Okay.
So
Hieroglyphic.
yeah, right. Hieroglyphic. Well, yeah. So, is there any at all conjectural Coptic form that would have come from Depet?
I made this up, but like maybe it's terrible. It's very often the case that nouns like this have a form that has a bunch of A's in it. Very, very often. It doesn't have to be that. It could be, it could have been dupa, in which case it would become Coptic depe. I don't know for sure. But yeah, I just made it up. I'm actually going to nix that. I definitely don't know this vowel. I'm going to say, yeah, I don't know well enough to say something like that.
Something.
Mm-hmm.
Et he pior.
Yeah, good. Pior.
And then the actual Coptic, I guess, would be Pechoi et he peor. Yeah. So again, you get the gender swap, just like with Time, right?
These are different lexemes, though. So it's not actually a gender swap. It's a case where
it's just a totally
word
different
is supplanted.
word.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's just supplanted it. This comes from, I think it comes from Jai, to ferry across. So it's like literally ferry. and then it gets generalized to mean any boat on the river.
Yeah, so the boat that is on the river is the higher English.
Yeah. I think you have one more left, don't you?
If you want.
If you want, Dante.
Iuem netiben seu paper. Piom et nfm.
Hang on. You left off a word.
Oh, sorry, the Yuna, the yes,
Yuna.
the other extra negation. Right, so Piom et nf m pepe. So it says here it's singular, right? So use the pe.
Yeah.
On. Yeah.
Okay. Let's make it proper Coptic. Not that many changes. Well, a few actually.
Well, piom is good, right? Et leave out the nef. N instead of M, or
I would probably say hem here.
Okay, hem. Pihi on
A.
P. Oh yeah, sorry. Pihi.
That's okay. I'm sorry to correct you on it so many times.
That's in Greeklish, in Greek
Yeah,
Coptic.
right.
In Greek Coptic. So the sea that is not on the river, is that what
It's not on the
saying?
river. It's even worse. It's even stupider than that.
The sea that is not in the river, or
in the A, or
the house. Sorry, yeah, it's a house.
The sea that is not in the house. I made that sentence and read it and thought that it made sense. Like obviously I'm cranking these out kind of quickly when I make these. I'm just like putting together words to make practice sentences, but man, that's really like, what a stinker this one is.
That's when I started questioning your mental state at that point.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a good thing, because I think that's what makes it really good practice, because you can't just expect a logical answer. You really have to understand it in order to translate bizarre sentences correctly.
True. I mean,
true.
The idea is kind of creating like a gentle gradient for you to climb in order to learn the language. I think having sentences that make sense is a good, like, it gives you kind of a sanity check on your own answer. It's like, if my answer makes no sense, that means I probably did something wrong. But with sentences like this, it's like, well, Christian might have just made a totally ridiculous sentence, because he does that sometime. And then you don't have that like check on yourself, which I think is
I'm sure there's a magic
realist,
story where there was an ocean in one house, and then there was an ocean that was not in the house. So
The Ocean at the End of the Lane, Dante.
or something, yeah.
The Ocean at the End of the Lane is one of the best books I've ever read. It's really good. Yeah.
I really appreciated the specificity that it's that ocean, not the one that's in the house, the other one. That's good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The ocean that is not in the house. The sea that is not in the house. It doesn't really narrow it down. But yeah. I'm gonna fix those. I'm gonna make them into things that make better sense. I got really like into seas here for a bit too. I don't know, I was in like a piratey mood. Who's next? Dante, you did great. Let's see, I'm gonna try to pick somebody that I don't call on all the time.
Yeah.
Pat, are you interested in doing some?
I'm interested, but I'm gonna have to skip. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Thanks.
Let's see.
I can do instead.
Okay.
but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Payom. Anti. Ben. Suher. Pa iteru.
Yeah, another very, very reasonable sentence that someone might say in real life.
The sea
Hang on,
that
Coptic. Let's do both our Coptics.
Payom. 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 Et. Et en.
And
Et nef. Et nef. Hi payor.
okay, this one's
the
pretty
sea,
good.
The sea is that
Hang
not
on. Let's do a good Coptic.
yeah. Payom et. Actually, upper example is much more. It is a good Coptic.
Yeah, except for this enf is a little weird. We wouldn't really
Okay.
expect to see that in good Coptic. So I would do this.
Hi payor.
Yeah, that's a good sentence. That one works.
Okay. Then the sea.
Oh, sorry. I forgot. It's negative. It's negative though. So we actually need
on,
this.
Yeah.
We really need the on now because we have nothing to indicate the negation anymore without that on.
Yeah. The sea is not upon the river. On the river.
Yeah, the sea that is not on the river.
Yeah. Pond.
It's not in the house. It's not on the river. Where is it?
Where could the sea be? Where else would you find a sea? If
It's
not
like
in a
a
house
it's
or
like a
on top of
children's
river?
book.
Yeah. It really is very much like where would you find the sea? Would you find it in a house? Would you
Yeah,
find
right.
it in a car? Would you
Is
find
this
it on a
from Dora?
bus? What's that?
Is this from Dora?
Yeah, it feels very much like she's got the map. And it's like, where is the sea? Is it in the house? And you're supposed to be like, no.
You could write a late Egyptian, children's book with, and use this in it.
Don't give me another thing to do, Dante, because you know I'll do it. It's a great idea. I'll definitely do it.
Why not?
Yeah. I'm writing 3 books right now, and it's too many books to be writing at the same time. Anyway, okay. Mustafa.
Pa neti. Pa neti di.
That's ET.
Yeah. Inte. I don't know how to.
Pet.
Pet. Yeah, pet.
This is just pet.
Pet. Pet. Di. Tai. Yeah, pet tai.
And then how would you make this into good Coptic? Pet dai.
Good Coptic. Pa. I think it is. It should be et rather than much more nt. Pa nt. Inte.
So it's kind of a trick question, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
This is a perfectly fine
Yeah.
Coptic sentence. It's fine the way it is. Het dai. That's just Coptic. You don't have to try to get it closer to late Egyptian. In fact, as a general rule, if this one is fairly close to the late Egyptian, the normal Coptic should be a little bit farther away, because that's the order of things too, right? We have like the Egyptian, we have a transcription of the late Egyptian, and then we have like our Hiero-Coptic, and then we have our like real Coptic, and then we have English. So there's kind of like an increasing distance between these things. But in this case, the reconstruction of the late Egyptian and perfectly normal Coptic are exactly the same.
Yeah.
And what does this mean?
Yeah, it's mean that is that is that who is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say the one that is here.
The one that is here. Yeah.
Yeah, het dai, but that's like, I mean, it's like the one who's here. It's a really, really straightforward sentence.
Yeah. Na Nicheru NT Ben Set Embah Na Nasuti Yuna. The gods actually
Coptic.
enter.
Yeah.
Nanter et nef
Not Nef, because we don't have Ben.
nes
Yeah, and it's actually Nse.
inse.
Yeah.
Then I thought is more use for sen.
Well, this is the word sen. So this is the word sen, like the third person plural. In Middle Egyptian, it would be just sen, right? It's the word that looks like.
Yeah. Okay. Just thought as it is just third person singular.
Right, because it has the T. What's actually happened is that this word sen has probably already begun to be pronounced as se.
Yeah, there is T.
We could even imagine like a nasalized se maybe, or whatever. But so because the N is not being pronounced, they interpret it as being identical in pronunciation to the feminine singular. So they write it set with the plural marker because it's lost its distinction.
Okay. Then inse emach
Yep.
na nesuti.
Oh yeah, sorry. I did this as like
Nansoi.
Nansoi. This is a reconstruction that I made up.
Yeah.
But it's decent. It's not as good as like the pe por reconstruction. Doesn't have as much evidence for it, but it's decent enough. Okay, so Nansoi, and then what else?
Yuna. Ona. I think weird, but
unfortunately, you cannot map this late Egyptian U onto the O of Coptic. In fact, what most often maps onto the O of Coptic is the little vowels that are missing, an A-type vowel in an open syllable. This is
I don't really know what the on.
I misspelled Yuna.
I thought it is means more different, but okay then.
Just on.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
Then
normal Coptic.
normal Coptic. Na, nen, ter, et, inse,
No insa. The insa goes
then
away.
set. I don't know.
It just goes away. It's this part doesn't survive into Coptic.
Okay.
You can just delete it.
Then a mach.
Could be a mah. Yeah, we can go ahead and use a mah because that is still a word in Coptic. I would rather use something like
Nahrem.
nahrem, yeah, or nahren in this case. Nahren, and then how do you say the kings?
And enerro.
Ener, plural.
Rho omega. I thought,
You
yeah, yeah.
You could
that-
in this. I think it's just Omicron. Omega is the Bohairic. There's a rule in Bohairic that says that if you have a combination like O, U, or OE, one of these type of things, in Bohairic, this becomes OU and OE.
Okay.
But for Saitic, we don't get a omega
It
automatically.
does duplicate omicron.
Yeah. And then
Then-
on stays. Yeah, that's good Coptic. Sounds good to me anyway.
Does the Yuna have an optional swirly W?
I think
in
it
there
just has a
sometimes?
swirly W. I think I just misspelt it. And I
Okay.
probably did that
Because yeah,
consistently.
some of them don't have, and some have. So I was wondering if it was sort of alternate spellings or.
No, I think I just misspelt it.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to replace all, fix that.
Then the gods that are not in the presence of kings.
Gods that are not in the presence of the kings. Okay.
Then ta demi inti benset her ta depet. Pıtme or titme.
Our
Titme.
Hierocoptic, so I'm gonna keep the gender the same.
Okay. Then it unse.
You say so, but it's just ends.
Okay. Yeah. Uns. He Pajoi.
Save that. So
Yeah,
let's match it, and then
it's fictional Coptic. Yeah.
yeah, and then in this one we'll get it right.
Putme et he pajoi.
Yeah. Then we need something
Joy.
here.
Let me check. He on.
On. Yeah. That's all we got left of the negation. Waterworld.
the village is not on the boat.
Yeah, the village that is not on the boat, as opposed to the village that is on the boat, as in Waterworld, the worst movie ever. I watched Waterworld fairly recently, and it's like a wonderful tragedy of like seemingly amazing world building that just like falls apart.
But you have to admit, Dennis Hopper, he went full in.
Oh man.
Full in.
Wait, who's Dennis Hopper? I don't know my actor's name.
The bad guy on the oil rig.
Oh yeah, he was great, but
Full
yeah.
ham.
Oh man, I mean, he really just owned that role. It was, but it's like, where are they getting gasoline? And like, wouldn't it be so much better if there was like this fortress on the sea, and then the other people who are attacking them also only had like you know, bows and arrows and spears and things, instead of just like decimating the because like, why have a fortress if they have like explosives and machine guns? Like,
you're asking too many questions.
You're not supposed to ask any questions. You're not supposed to ask questions, but like, oh man, like what a missed opportunity. They spent so much money on that, and it was like such a cool premise. It originally started as like a Mad Max spinoff. That's why all the like jet skis and stuff. Man, it's like such a cool concept. Such a cool concept. And then like, and it was like I had suspended my disbelief to the point that I forgot about the existence of mountains for the sake of this world building. And you still managed to disappoint me. Like, how? Anyway, okay.
Sorry.
Oh, it's a movie. FYI, Waterworld is a movie from 1995 that was like one of the like best known flops of the 90s, although I think it ended up making a profit. It's like a really weird story. It wasn't actually a total flop. Like the studio didn't lose money on it, but it was just like this movie that looked really cool and was just executed so badly that it made people like angry at it, and rightfully so. It's kind of the Game of Thrones of the 90s. Although all the people who made Waterworld were actually talented, they weren't like incompetent hacks like the showrunners of Game of Thrones. So yeah, sometimes things don't go right. Anyway, Mustafa, do you want to do another sentence? I can talk about Waterworld all day. I gotta get back on track here.
I've done much enough actually.
Oh, you've done enough. Okay, fair. Very fair.
I can do more, but
I know you can, but I'm going to call on somebody else just to keep it fair. Kathy, you're actually next in the list. Do you want to do some?
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Okay, 29. Na et nt d. Nayote. Et tai.
Yeah, and now our proper Coptic.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
A great one.
The fathers who are here.
Yeah. Okay, that went well. Let's just keep on going.
Pa ich enti im taicht. So that was the one that was, I can't remember, but it was like pa eh, like
yeah. And this is slightly reconstructed. Although I do think I found it somewhere, but it's not the normal word for bull.
Right. Et men.
Yeah. And in this case, it's, oh, what's the word for bull? I'm just gonna look. I can't think of it. It's not gonna come to me either. I can feel that it's just like it's not even on the tip of my tongue. It's just not there. I guess tauros. It's probably the most common word for bull. Oh, look at this call. That's awesome because that also had that's ka. That has like a, oh, we just saw it in our hieratic. It's this word. There it is in hieratic, in case you're curious. Yeah, so that actually has like a good Coptic etymology too. I should probably just use that. Although it doesn't have this nice feature of like the masculine doesn't have a T and the feminine does have a T. That's actually why I chose that word. It's just because it's a good illustration of that, like put a T on it and it becomes the feminine. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna say,
Peko.
yeah, cool.
I don't think you have to change anything.
Nope.
I do have a question. Is there something that specific tells you to use the M with the N in the superlinear stroke versus M epsilon N, or is it just
No, this is it's a good question.
preference?
It's not preference. It's actually like a huge question, a huge debate in like
Okay.
Egyptian phonology.
Okay.
I won't go into the whole debate, but basically, like I firmly believe that the superlinear stroke N is just a way of writing this
Mhm.
while using less papyrus. Although there are some cases, especially in a case like this, like Enyode, is it Nyode or Enyode? I think it depends on the context that it comes in, because there's a rule in Egyptian that you can have consonant clusters of no more than 2 consonants together.
Mhm.
So you can have, if a word begins with a consonant and then you put the N on it, then if in the context of a sentence, the previous word begins with a vowel. So I'll just come up with an example. So what's a plural? What's a Coptic plural that begins with a consonant? Let's say hypothetically, the bulls. That works in ko. So in theory, if we had a sentence like, let's say, I saw the bulls. I know, en ko. In theory, this would just become the provides that thing that you need to make it a consonant cluster of no more than 2 consonants. But if you had a case like I gave, or let's say I sold the bull, that would be I d n ka vol. Literally, I gave the bull away, but that's the idiomatic way that Egyptians has to sell something. So in this case, you actually end up with a consonant cluster of 3 things that doesn't really work. So it's very likely that the epsilon sound ends up in here. Aidin neko. It just depends on like the phonetic environment it finds itself in.
Right.
Where
So would
that
you
little
just
vowel
write
needs to
it?
go.
Would you write it just like that, or would you be putting a superlinear stroke somewhere?
Oh yeah, sorry. I would put superlinear strokes on both of those.
On both of them.
So I think what the superlinear stroke does is it tells you that the position of this little short vowel is dependent on the phonetic context that it finds itself in.
Okay.
That's my best hypothesis as to what it means. The consensus, which I now have to tell you, because I already told you my personal pet theory that is not the consensus at all. The consensus is that these are syllabic consonants. So an example of a syllabic consonant might be, well, I already wrote it incorrectly. I already got it wrong. So like this is how I would write phonetically the American English pronunciation of the word. See if you can guess. Try to guess at home before I write it all the way out. This is how I would write my pronunciation of the word button. So the N in the word button doesn't have a vowel with it at all. It's just it's like humming. It's like there's no vowels in there. I'm just making the N sound through my nose. So that's a syllabic N. And that's the consensus for what the superlinear stroke does. The consensus is that it makes the consonant underneath it a syllabic consonant rather than a consonant that is joined to its neighboring vowels in a syllable, as most consonants are. It's a consonant that acts as a syllable on its own. There are languages that have a lot of syllabic consonants, especially Slavic languages. I know Czech has a ton of syllabic consonants. So it's not that unusual, except in Egyptian, you have lots of cases of syllabic P and syllabic T, which are like, you can't have a syllabic stop. It doesn't make a noise if you try to make a syllabic stop. So it doesn't work everywhere, that idea. So I think we need a better idea. And I think the fact that we already have this like general phonotactics of Coptic that says like no more than 2 consonant clusters, and then we have cases in writing where you get like 5 consonants together with superlinear strokes over some of them, that gives you like a kind of a ready-made explanation. It's like this, so generally this morpheme, you don't know where the vowel would go, but then sometimes you do. And then in cases like this, well, you always do. It's always just going to be men. So you get variant spellings. They'll write it either like this, or they'll write it with the epsilon.
Okay.
That was a very long explanation, but that's
that's okay.
That's
the bull is with the cow.
Yeah.
The bull who is with the cow.
Oh yeah, sorry. That's not the bull that is with the cow, or who, I guess, if it's, you know.
You know the bull, yeah.
We know him. Yeah, we got a personal
Steve.
relationship. Me and the bull.
Yeah. Okay. Not et plural. Nt benset im.
Yeah, good.
So Nyote. Et. Oh, I forget what the Nef, would it be?
So it would be Nef if it were the third person masculine singular, which is Su in late Egyptian, but in this case it's the plural.
Ents.
And Se.
Ense. Umai.
And Mao.
And Mao.
Yeah, that's so sorry for the random correction, but that this is like a really, really common thing that new students of Coptic get wrong over and over and over. Like I got it wrong for a year until I got it right. It's a U sound. It looks like a Y, but it's an U. It's just the way it is. Yeah, it's really confusing.
On at the end.
I'm actually gonna leave it off from our Hieroglyphic from now on, because we're putting both of them now.
Okay.
So I don't, yeah.
Okay, so it would just be Nyote et ML.
ML, and then you already on. Yeah, you got it.
Okay. So the fathers are not there.
Who are not?
Who are not there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like absentee or present fathers in here. I don't know. I think it was somebody mentioned Papa was a Rolling Stone on Discord. I guess that got in my head. I don't know what happened. Maybe I wrote this before that. Who knows? Anyway.
Okay. I think I have one more. Tanabet, NT, Naim, Su. Set.
Close. You're getting there.
Sen.
10. There you go.
It was one of those. Okay.
This is the thing I always say about learning a language, though, right? Like you're roughing it in first.
Yeah.
So if you had the S, you're like already on the right track.
Right.
You'll see it 5 more times and you'll never forget that it's an M.
Yes.
But yeah, you're doing good.
Well, if I saw the feminine version, then it would be like, oh, it's not the T. So I would figure it out. Nebet. Tenet.
So we have, we don't actually have this word. This is going to be a reconstruction. Okay. I'll give it, well, I guess I didn't have to give it to you. I could have worked through it. We do have this word though. The masculine survives as knave. So we can just put an "e" on the end and that makes the feminine, which is typical for Coptic. So it's not even weird. Neva et.
Men. Person.
Person. Yeah, good.
Yep.
And then we just have to change one word here. because of that reconstruction.
What was I don't remember what the first word was.
It's the feminine version of the word lord, as in the owner of an estate.
Crap, I can't remember.
I'm gonna just say Joyce. I think it's Joyce.
It's in like the second or third chapter of Lambton. Yeah. Okay. At men to son.
Yeah. No change there.
The lady, no, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, the lady who is with the son.
Nope. Another very
brother.
common
The
mistake.
brother. Yeah, the brother.
People, that's one that people definitely do for like a month or so until
Yeah.
it finally gets stuck as the correct one. That's a false friend for sure. Son is brother. It's like that thing that people always say about Hebrew, like who is he and he is she and dog is fish. It's like, yeah. Egyptian doesn't have quite that many false friends, but it has some.
Okay.
Son is a good one. Okay, who hasn't had a chance? Who is itching for their chance to do 4? You're gonna have to be kind of fast. Because we're almost out of time. Thank you, Aurelia. I'm glad someone appreciated that's like every Hebrew teacher's like go-to line on the first day of class. So I just copied it, but I think it's pretty good. Who is he and he is she and dog is fish. Like the world is upside down. Get used to it. I feel like Aurora wants to do some sentences. I mean, I don't want to assume too much, but your face seems to be saying, I'd like to do some Coptic sentences. Egyptians, whatever we're doing.
Okay, so na neb enti embach na iti.
Okay.
And that would be neneb, weneb.
Yeah, I'm just going to do this. Well, that's not really a reconstruction actually, because that's still correct. And Nev.
Et emma nyote.
Okay, I want to do a different word here because I'm going to mark this as a reconstruction. It's just very uncommon. So I'm going to do injisawe, which is the plural of Joyce. Joyce Jisawe. Injisawe. And then I kind of want to change this one too.
Okay. Not quite sure what that would be though.
I'm going to do innahren, which is just, they're very similar words, but this one is just more common in normal Coptic. So I'm just going to change it to that. Just to make it more like naturally common. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, and that's the lords who are in the presence of the fathers.
Yeah, the lords who are in the presence of the fathers. It's a very like biblical sounding sentence.
Yeah. Na debet enti her peyom.
Finally, I made a normal sentence about the sea.
So that will be N and then tope, where the word we're not quite sure about, right?
Yeah, this one I'm not even willing to reconstruct it because the plural is going to be something weird. There's just no way to predict what it is.
And then et he peom.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And
what is the plural of Oh, I know it. Okay. So we're going to use joy for this. And I
Okay.
could say enjoy. Do you know the plural of joy? It's kind of weird.
Absolutely not.
It's nejeu, I think. If somebody wants to check me on that, please do. I'm just pulling that from my memory. Nejeu.
When I looked it up, I think that's what it was.
Okay, good.
And that's the words that are on the sea.
Yeah. Perfectly normal sentence that any normal, sane person might say out loud. Okay.
And then na senu enti penset empta debet.
Yeah.
So ensneu et ense emp and the word we're not quite sure about.
Yeah, the word that we're not sure about. And then that stays almost the same.
Yeah, nesneu et en joy, right?
I'm going to say joy. So there's a thing, like you can still say en to mean in Coptic, but it's kind of restricted to a few phrases. Generally, it's the word hem means in Coptic. Joy. And then we need a negation.
An.
Yeah.
And that the siblings were not in the boat.
Another quality sentence. Okay, and you got one more.
Okay, na necher enti im.
Good.
And that would be nenter et emau. And that would be the same in normal Coptic, right?
Yeah, the same. I guess we can retype it just for good measure, but yeah.
And
A minor side note. You're not going to translate this way, but this in Coptic actually means those gods. Wait, I'll let you give me the translation and I'll say more about this.
Okay. Well, that's the gods who are there.
The gods who are there. Yeah. And so generally, there's a rule in Coptic where like this is the way of saying those gods. That's not a good explanation. If I were to say neinter, that would be these gods. But if I want to say those gods, as in like those ones over there, I would say literally the gods who are there. It's just as a way Coptic does it. So nenter et emau. If I were reading that in a text, I would actually probably not read that as the gods who are there. I would read it as those gods, but that hasn't really become a thing by late Egyptian. So if we see this in late Egyptian, we should read it, the gods who are there, which is the same in Coptic, but now we're detangling the idiom because it hasn't become an idiom yet. Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay. Yeah, isn't that neat? That's pretty great. Thank you, Aurora. That was excellent. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I think we did some good work today. We learned some cool stuff. Kathy, thank you very much for the note in Discord about how confusing it is to only see fake Coptic that's just kind of imitating late Egyptian. I think putting the fake Coptic and the real Coptic is going to be super valuable. And it'll help make clear what the fake Coptic is for too, because it really is just to have a way to read the sentence aloud. Yeah, and then you can, if the real Coptic is there, you can also get a like really visual cue as to how the language has changed in the 2,000 years between those two. It's not much. It's surprisingly little, honestly. They're normally pretty close. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. We're going to keep doing that, and I'll just see y'all next time. We'll continue with this. All right.
Right.
Have a good
Cool.
week, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.